Good evening, and thank you so much for coming to Life Off the Bench, where we will discuss real life issues with real life people in a real life way. And so, on tonight, we are discussing topics that will evoke emotions, thoughts, and feelings. And with that being said, we are going to begin tonight's broadcast, podcast, conversation with inviting our truth, which is the Holy Spirit. So we're going to ask that you join us in prayer on tonight. Holy Father, we ask that you come into this place. We thank you so much for allowing us to see this day, to be in this day. And we ask that on this evening that you use us in a special way to have conversation, to broaden minds, to broaden ideals, into inclusivity, into a world that involves every one of your creations. Lord, for you said everything that you made was good. And so if anything that we say, anything that we think does not include you, we ask that you remove it. In the holy name of Jesus.
Yes.
Amen.
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 Welcome, Life Off the Bench. Um, I'm gonna go back a step because I just love this so much. So I'm gonna go back a step and do this. Yeah. Bump, 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 bump. Yeah, y'all like that too, huh? I know. It's so cool. All right, you guys. We have a real doozy tonight. It's not it's not a popular conversation. I'm going to say that to begin with, as I go through and read tonight's topic: racism versus classism versus sexism, hate crimes. How to recognize, is there a difference? Are they the same? We're going to go ahead and just um, answer the last question already. No, they are not the same. It's a lot involved in all those topics. Um, some do involve hate. We we want to thank uh, Pastor Collier for opening up with a prayer, because when you have conversations like this, you gotta have some prayer involved, because people come into conversations like this um, looking to hear what someone's gonna say that may be controversial. But here's what you need to know: none of us are controversial people on this panel. We only seek truth, hope, and justice and freedom for all. With that being said, I think if you're going to talk about racism, you must start with you can't talk about racism without talking about Jim Crow and how all this began, because that's a big part of what it is. And so, with that being said, what you see on the screen now comes from Wikipedia. It's called Jim Crow laws, and this is just an excerpt that I found that I liked. It caught my attention when I read it, and so I just want to take a second and read it. Like I always do. Historical development, early attempts to break Jim Crow. The Civil Rights Act of 1875, introduced by Charles Sumner and Benjamin F. Butler, stipulated a guarantee that everyone, regardless of race, color, or previous condition of servitude, was entitled to the same treatment in public accommodations such as inns, public transportation, theaters, and other places of recreation. This act had little effect in practice. An 1883 Supreme Court decision that ruled that the act was unconstitutional in some respects, saying Congress was not afforded control over private persons or corporations, with white Southern Democrats forming a solid voting bloc in Congress due to having outsized power from keeping seats apportioned for the total population in the South. Although hundreds of thousands had been disenfranchised, Congress did not pass another civil rights law until 1957. So we know Jim Crow. Well, I'm not sure how much everyone knows about Jim Crow and how much it affected life as slavery ended. And good term is um, freedom for all. Maybe I guess that's a good thing to say, but that wasn't really the case because for us that know about Jim Crow laws know that was everything but freedom. That's why when it happened, slavery ended. They said, okay, you can if someone commits a crime, then you can go back and gain control over them. It's a lot, but why? Why isn't someone having their freedom and the same religious freedoms and all those other freedoms? Why isn't that something that everyone wants? April.
So when you think back on the history of racism and where our people, the black race, came from, and first I want to say I believe, this is my personal opinion, racism is taught. It's a learned behavior. Anything that is taught can be untaught if you want it to be untaught.
Right.
And so people have had the mindset for years that one person or thing or another should be in control over somebody else or something else. And by that, we've lived a lifetime. Some of us are still living a lifetime of racism. Even the other topics that we're talking about, hatred, um, sexism, and as Hober said earlier, they can all involve hate or some form of one or the other. Um, People in general have to take a step back and look at themselves and to thine own self be true. Am I a am I a victim of racism or am I the cause of racism? And when you begin to look at yourself and see the bigger picture and then determine, should everybody have the same freedoms? That's what the Constitution says. We all have the same unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So
Right.
is it because one color or the other should be superior in some people's mind that everybody shouldn't have those same things? Of course not. Um, Anise led off with prayer this morning because we say we serve God, and if we serve God, don't we serve the same God? Isn't He
Right.
the same just God for Black, white, Latino, Asian, Mexican? You know, these are questions that we have to stop and ask ourselves, pause for a moment and think about each situation. And has maybe everybody at some point in time did something that may be considered racist? Maybe.
Possibly.
Um, but one thing that I've learned growing up is when you learn that you've done wrong or you made a mistake, just as quick as you did that, we ought to be quicker to ask for forgiveness or to right that wrong. And so now I feel like we have a multitude of generations of people that feel like they have been wronged in some form or fashion, and nobody's willing to rectify it or try to solve it or try to make it better. And so we live a life of what somebody else has to dominate somebody. No. Are there going to be leaders? Are there going to be followers? Of course. But that doesn't make one race or class of people superior to the other. And that's the thing that we have to look at when we talk about racism.
Hmm. Anise,
She muted.
Mike, yeah,
Hi, good evening. I
hi,
was just saying that's a lot. And so in
yeah.
thinking about it and trying to um separate my answer and keep it related to just racism, you said they're not the same, but for me as an individual, they're all connected. I can't disconnect my racism, my classism, my sexism, because at some point they're all connected to my experience here on the planet. I experience, because when people see me first, they see the color of my skin. Then they somehow try to put me in a category by their experience in this capitalistic society as to the pecking order in my ranking, and to keep me in a certain place and what I should have and what I'm entitled to. And then sexism, they see me as a woman. That's on first, that's the first 3 to 5 seconds of their encounter with me. But when we talk about this society as a whole in terms of hate, is that the underlying of the masses, or is that the underlying of a few, and they happen to get the loudest attention because they are the few? So I put that question back out there.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go here. I think the only way we can affect change and and be a part of the change that we want to see is you have to put your own personal story out, and you have to put your feelings on the line. Like, you can't do it no other way, I don't believe. And so I'm gonna share something about my childhood. So I grew up in an all black community. Um, the primary school I went to, J.S. Clark Elementary in Monroe, Louisiana, it was predominantly black. I don't remember any white kids going to J.S. Clark. At one point in life, we moved, and I go from being in an all black environment educationally to going to uh, Jack Hayes, which was an all white environment. Well, it was maybe 90-10, maybe. It was culturally different though. And we had this one instructor, I will never forget this man. Um, he epitomized hate and racism. His name was Mr. Dunn. He was a horrible man. he mistreated black kids for sport. And I think from just that 1 year of being under his instructions, it gave me I was in a real dark place because I'd never been treated like that before in my life. And I didn't know, like, again, as blacks culturally, it's just some things that no matter what those situations are, we do not discuss. You're told to be tough, be strong, be whatever you need to be to get through that moment, and then you push on. Well, that shit destroys you. It destroys you mentally, it destroys you physically, it destroys everything about you. And so for a long time, 3, 4, 5 years maybe, I did not like white people. I didn't, because the first encounter I had with them was bad. How many people have experienced that?
I'm sure there's quite a few. Yeah,
a lot. Not quite a few, a lot.
I'm sure.
When you go outside of the thing that you've known the most, when you go outside of the thing you've known the most, and now it's totally different. What do? How do you confront that issue?
Okay, so I have to ask this question. It was one of him to how many other experiences did you have of color?
So watch this right here. His wasn't the only issue of hatred that I encountered. His just was the most dominant. And hatred and racism always comes from a place of power. People that don't have any power, people that don't have any authority cannot invoke racism. But if you're the person,
can it go the other way?
Ask the question. Don't half ask the question.
Can racism go the other way? Can it be black and white?
It's been said that it can't be, but I want to challenge that because
wait, before you challenge that, can it also be perceived power? Ooh. You perceive them to have the power because they're white.
No, I perceive them to have the power because he was the teacher put in charge of the classroom.
Well, that is a teacher, but if we're going to talk about true racism, see, that's different.
I want to get to the root.
Okay, the root is if we're talking about the root being racism, then we have to stick with racism, not the authoritarian. Yes, he could have been a racist.
Is there a difference?
Yeah, there is.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it then.
I believe so. He happened to be a racist put in a position of power as a classroom teacher. But the perceived power, he had more than you gave him. You named it with him being a teacher. But oftentimes, racists, in my experience, have this perceived notion of power because of white privilege.
And that's a bit different than just because he was the teacher. Right. We perceive people to have a lot of things and they don't really have them.
But watch this though. when it's a 20 plus, 30 plus year old man or woman versus a 10, 11, 12-year-old child, and that child has been told and taught to go your ass to school and sit down and don't cause no trouble, then guess what? It's no difference.
Well, no, see, that's a different situation because he was the teacher. So anything that he gave you as from the instruct as a teacher, then you were going to be pliable and amenable to whatever that experiences was. And so it happened that his skin was white, and it happened that he was a racist. So yes, you were going to be indelible to those experiences and connect them to all those things. And yes, it was going to scar you for that experience. But if we're talking about unadulterated racist experiences, and not that you did not have one, I'm not discounting that you had one, because I do believe you had one, and I appreciate you sharing that.
I, I definitely had one. I have,
No,
I have more than one. But again, out of all the things that happened to me in my childhood, that's a reoccurring role, a reoccurring theme that keep playing back in my, like, I blocked out a lot of stuff from my childhood, Anise. I can't block that out. It keeps punching me in the gut. It keeps telling me you have to do what's right. It keeps telling me you have to fight for good. It keeps telling me be strong even in the face of adversity. But again, everybody don't make it out of the hood and the projects like me and April did. Everybody don't get to make it out unscathed. It's
And
some people. It's
I'm
some
gonna
people.
say I made it out because willpower and endurance. But I walked into a situation where I still dealt with racism. I'm sure Niece, being from prior military, she experienced it. Um, it wasn't any different going into the military, being a little black girl from Monroe, Louisiana, as it is you walking into elementary school with people that you were unfamiliar with or even being around. Sometimes situations that we are placed in makes us uncomfortable. I met people in the military that had never been around a black
black
person.
people.
I met white people that had never been around black people, but I met some of them were true racists to their cause, and they let it be known that that was their stance. And what are you going to do about it? And one thing I think that we were taught growing up was we were taught how to face adversity. I think as a race of people, we've been taught how to face adversity, or in some situations, how not to. Just let it be. This is how it was. This is how it's always going to be. And I want to say today, we don't have to live in that stance of life because we can't. There are many ways that we can take a stance. And this show today, we're taking a stance, teaching, because there are still people that don't know what true racism is. And some of them are out there on the forefronts fighting battles for something that they don't know what it really means to have experienced racism.
And the thing about it is, even those that are in the movement, it's important, and I applaud and laud that even if they may not fully understand or grasp what it is, it's the fact that they're willing to make a stance for the cause
Mhm.
and learn as they go on the job training. Because as we entered the show, the and I've experienced tons of racism. Um, and as April said, we were equipped with that growing up, and doubly so. And same with you, because I grew up with brothers. A black man in America has a double stance. A black woman in America, a double stance. We grew up parallel, but we were given different kinds of instructs. Um, but we were listening to each other's lessons as you grow up. Um, but with that being said, preparing for this show, I thought about an exact scene from the military as I'm walking down the hall, and I can hear back in, behind my head as I'm walking down the hallway, someone screaming, "There's that black bee." That is what they thought of me. No uncertain terms. That was it. But they had to answer to me. I
Mm.
held my head up high, kept it moving. But I could not, whereas, and this is the irony, I could not turn around and because I knew that I had to be able to depend on this person if the going got rough to have my six.
Exactly.
So that's where we have to be able to go, what? So when we think about racism, we have to make some decisions and choices. So then it rolls over into, again, what do we do? This show is chock full of so many hearty things. I don't know if one show could actually, again, pull apart everything. And he does this every time, I think, just to get us going, April. I don't know. He being Hober. Um, that we get pulled into these things, because I said if I was a fly on the wall and lived in another time frame, I think I would have definitely been Angela Davis's flunky and been right there. I think I never would have had children and ran off and just been right there. What you need, Miss Davis? Hey, let's do the dang go thing. Probably been rocking a big, a
Power to
bronze
the
brown
people.
fro and be like, hey, let's go. Hey, been armed, but for the simple fact that see me, hear me, and understand that I too am human. But did that bring about the change that's necessary for evolution in order to bring about a revolution? Because here we are, this many years later, still addressing
Still
the
talking
same
about the
thing.
issue.
And then we had in this country an outpouring, outright blatant reversion, seemingly so, or was it a reversion, or was it just people now unafraid to speak what was truly on their mind all the time, just some 2 years ago, for the last 4 years, saying, hey, this is what I feel about you, this is what I think about you, and I'm gonna do whatever I want to do.
Disclaimer time. You guys
Yes,
know when you see
absolutely.
this, we're about to change speeds, and we may be even changing topics a little bit. I'm gonna stick this one up here next. Classism. Classism is discrimination and oppression of people based on their suspected or real social status. Classism humiliates and hinders social participation from certain groups.
Well,
Ding,
if we're
ding,
gonna
ding, ding,
start there,
ding, ding, ding,
if
ding,
we're gonna
ding.
start there, Jesus told us the poor will be with you always. He didn't say the poor had a color.
I'm not going to play with you.
That's what the
The
words
poor,
say.
the poor does not have a color.
Anise Adams Collier, I'm not about to play with you. We got a
The,
question on deck.
What's the
come on with
question?
your
Question.
question.
Is there a difference between prejudice and racism? Can one be prejudiced and not be racist?
Yes.
Racist.
Okay, I'm gonna do your last first, Mr. Wilson. Yes. What's the definition of prejudice? Okay, since you at home typing, type the definition of prejudice. Because that's mean I gotta look it up during the show.
No, I'm about
So
to help you out. I'm about to help you
Preconceived
out.
opinion that it is not based on reason or actual experience.
so that means I like what I like because I like what I like. So I love my people. I don't just like my people. I love my people. So yes, I prejudice and I'm favored toward my people because they are
Uh,
my people.
excuse me. Pick me. Pick me. Pick me. Pick me.
I'll take Cobra Grayson for $100.
Shit, you better get 1,000 on this one response. Okay, so
Okay,
Lord have mercy. I'm about to walk into the lion's den.
come on.
Well, come on,
I don't.
Daniel.
I do not always like the actions of our people.
No, 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 no. Love? No, no. He didn't say actions. Do you love your people genuinely across the board, unconditionally? Not like their actions. I don't like your
Again,
actions.
again,
Not based on
again,
reason or actual experience.
again,
Right.
Prejudice.
again.
Not read that definition again because he didn't hear it.
Preconceived opinion that is not based on reason or actual experience.
So it's not based on what they do. Do you love Black people?
Period. Yes, he does.
Now, do we make mistakes and fall down? Yes, that's based upon ignorance.
Hey,
That's
hey,
based
hey,
upon
we.
not be no. No, you're not
You
you're not
ain't
gonna get
getting
on me
out
and
that easy
laugh.
either.
You're
No,
not gonna
you
get
ain't
on
getting
here
out
on
that easy
bash.
either.
We're not gonna get here on bash because the thing about it is, I love Black people, but I also know if I make mistakes, everyone makes mistakes because I'm not God. Only God can judge. We make mistakes. Why do we make mistakes? Sometimes we make mistakes based upon ignorance. Sometimes we make mistakes based upon arrogance. Sometimes we make mistakes because we want to, but I'm not one to judge. Matthew 7:1, judge ye not lest ye be judged. So I don't have anyone to judge.
Thug life. Hold up. Thug life. Thug life.
Get him, Anise.
So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, do I love Black people? Yes. You gonna make me curse on here? Yes, I do. But do I realize we mess up? So to answer Brother Wilson's question is prejudice and racist. Me loving my people don't mean I dislike, hate, or will do harm to your people. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But what, man,
Absolutely not.
can I say this? Can I say this? Can I
Say it.
say
You
this?
may. You may.
When you see so much, in
That's spiritually illegal. You are not God. You may
it
have a
has
G in
nothing to
your
do
name,
with
but
me
yes,
being
it does.
God.
Yes, it does, because you don't get the right to judge. You get the right to
I'm
educate,
not.
show the way, model, and be a light. That is
Oh yeah,
your
turn that
job.
on. Yeah, I need that.
That is
Hey,
your
hey,
job.
I'm not.
That
I'm
is your
not.
April. You better get him. You better get him, Gibbs. You got a G too. You better get him. You better get him.
Can I finish my statement?
Finish
Go
your
ahead.
statement.
Can I finish my statement?
Go ahead.
I'll take a break.
Sometimes, if we're talking about the culture as a whole, right? Sometimes I ain't gonna lie, in my heart, I be disappointed. I be hurt. I'm broken. I'm
Disappointed at the
broken.
action, or disappointed at what you see, or disappointed at what you think they know? Because
I think
sometimes,
they
like,
don't know. I think they don't know.
and
If
that's
they
what the
did
Bible
know,
says: my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And
but
so,
it still doesn't make the sting less hurtful.
it doesn't make it less hurtful, but you as a person, Anise as a person, April as a person, and us knowing better, it's our job to teach the generations to come better. That's what we're placed here for, to be able to give them the knowledge that they lack. And some of them
Sometimes
lack.
this shit hurts as a
It didn't say it
culture.
was. It didn't say it was going to be easy. We didn't say that it was going to be a walk in the park. Yeah, it hurts to when you walk down the street and you see 10 little black boys and all of them got their pants sagging, and then the other cultures look at them and think, "Oh man, them ain't nothing but some little thugs and gangsters." When no, they really not that in real life. They really just portraying something that they think is cool. They don't know where it came from. They don't know how they got to that state. That ain't even the life that they're living. They ain't
Well,
even.
April, it don't even have to get to that. What about when you get a 13-year-old that can't read? That hurts.
Ooh,
That's
Yes,
yeah.
come
disappointing.
on now. You just said a
So
mouthful.
now, so now you're talking about what you see with your eyes.
No, I'm talking
So,
about not
so,
only what
so,
I see,
so,
but what you
so, so,
feel.
so what I'm talking about, yes, that hurts. So the question is to educate, to model, to mentor, to do something about. So what are you doing to evoke change? If you know that you are being the light, I know. Okay, so I'll take Hope on
I do
500.
good. My value increased. Why? Thank you. My value increased. So the things that I do, and all the people I mentor, all the kids I mentor, I have one primary message and one secondary message. Primary message is do good. Primary message is always do good. The secondary message is do good even when no one else is looking. Because
Amen.
because when it's all said and done, when you the very time you think someone isn't looking, they're right in your grill. You don't
And
even know
so,
they're in your
And,
grill.
and you're
but
exactly
but
right. but we have to learn to, okay, what does do good mean, Mr. Hobart? Because I
You
think I've been doing good. I ain't punched my sister today.
and see,
And then
good
maybe you
is
doing
relative.
good.
But see, good is relative to what has been cultivated in me. So,
Exactly.
what seeds are you planting? What are you planting for the future? For a future hope.
It's always the message has always got to be the same.
The
Do
the
good in
message
all
the
things.
message the message can change. It's the end result that needs to be the same. And at the end, you need to show them love, show them a way out, show them a difference
Sometimes they
that they
don't
can
need
make.
love. Sometimes they need to be punched in their damn gut. Get the wind knocked out of them because all the time, hugs and
Okay,
kisses mean nothing. Hugs and kisses mean nothing most of the time.
okay. I
Tough
disagree.
love, tough
Okay,
love
okay,
helps. Tough
okay.
love works.
Tough
So
love don't
let's say
work on
this.
everybody.
So may I say this? May I say this, please? I agree to disagree, for the simple fact that that may be all they are getting. And with that being said, how does that relate to today's topic?
Right,
Because
Meditra.
in
Reach
in
one,
in
teach
in
one.
in order to change hatred, you have to have love.
Right.
And
And so,
in giving love and showing love, that's a part of doing good.
okay, so with that being said, if if I'm receiving tough love
At home.
from the people that's supposed to love me at home, and then I come to someone who's mentoring and supposed to be speaking and pouring life to me and get the same exact thing, I'm now confused
You're not
on what that
confused. You're
what
not
is too
confused
is.
because
May I finish on what this quote unquote love
Love is
thing
supposed to be.
is? Because now I'm going to turn around and do what society tells me is acceptable because I'm getting the type of love that feels good to me.
so watch this right here.
Watching,
Growing
I'm watching.
growing up, my mother had a strict don't spare the rod or you will spoil the child
Stop. How many decades ago? And
mentality.
not that it
It
didn't
don't
work.
matter. Time hasn't changed. The people
Time
have.
has changed.
Time hasn't changed. The
Time
people have.
has changed.
I don't
But
agree.
Technology.
relationship,
Re-
relationship,
Hold
and,
up. Can I finish?
relationship.
Can I finish? This is why I wanted another male so I wouldn't be getting double teamed. My
no, you ain't getting
kid,
double
kid.
team.
Hey, hey, April. Hey,
I
Elisa. I
love you.
love
We
you
grew up in the
guys.
same household, and so
And
that's what
watch
I
this.
need the
So
show
so
to
watch
know.
this.
He has a beat him down mentality. I
I
gotta
do
kill him with
not.
love mentality.
I do
We
not.
have
I
two.
do
Yes,
not. My mother whooped my asterisk.
she
But
did.
watch this. Watch this. When I wasn't giving her reasons to whip my asterisk, you know what she was doing? Building me up. It
Okay.
wasn't a question
Building you
of
So
up and
so
showing you love is two totally different
right.
aspects in life.
but
Building you up is show.
sometimes the ass whipping
So
isn't
you
for
gonna
the
let me talk
kids.
now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, because that's not the way
All
you
the time
present.
is for the kids, because my mama ain't felt nail one of them licks. Yes, she did. I'm lying, because I ain't never let her hit me.
Exactly.
But either way, if you ask the three that I raised when they was getting them whoopings from me, they ain't feel no love. They ain't think I loved them. They felt hurt and pain. But what I also did was at the end of that whooping, I don't want to whoop you, but when you do things like this, I have to whoop you. I need for you to know that I
Hold
truly
up.
love you.
Where'd you get that statement from though?
My
Where'd you get
uncle,
that from?
when he got ready to
Hell
whoop
no.
us, he used to say,
Your mama. Your mama said the same. This gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. Mama, you about to beat the freaking out of
Okay,
me.
okay, okay, okay. Not that I'm stopping the back down memory lane, but I want you to hear the difference. Your mom was with you every day to have a history of relationship. Now, the difference is if you got a young person in your life that you may only see once a week, once every 2 weeks, or whatever the case may be, and their parent only brings them to you when they are quote unquote done something wrong or in trouble, and the only time they bring them to you is for discipline.
How are they supposed to know the difference?
Right, they don't. You're now the disciplinarian.
Just
So
like the
again,
parents. So they feel like they're in the same boat.
right, you're just an extension of the parent. That's not the same. So again, I'm going to go back to our topic for today: racism versus classism versus sexism, hate crimes, and how to recognize if there's a difference and are they the same. Unless we're changing the topic for today. If we're
No,
changing the
we're
topic
not.
for today,
We're
I'm going
not.
to go.
We're not. We're not. We're not. We're not. Encourage parent-child conversations about race. Link past and modern day racism. Teach children of all races to counter racial injustice and value racial diversity. Touch on emerging issues such as racial aspect of immigration debate.
Okay, what book? Purpose of the book. What book is that?
Oh Lord, I forgot to write that. Y'all gotta forgive me on that one. Let me see where I got that. Let me see if I can
So,
remember where I got that
so,
from.
so what you will do is put the link to YouTube when you post it. No problem. So when we talk about that and use that particular aspect of it, not a problem. Is we have to realize that we have to show them the similarities. There are modern day lynchings going on right now. I happen to live above the Mason Dixon, and that's the dividing line between the North and South of the United States. But those go on right here all over the world. And so, what we have to do is we have to show them the similarities and teach them about the skin they're in. And racial and racism doesn't just affect um, people of African American descent now, or African descent, or African Americans. The thing about that is I can only speak true to my people, but I know it's to all people. Like my heart ached. You talk about your heart aching. My heart ached for DECA when families and children were torn apart. And to this day, parents have been deported and children are in camps without their parents. That's was foolishness. That was the epitome of hate, to separate families. But that happened to us. We have a history of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's in our lineage. So
Okay.
what do we do?
Excuse me. Question for April. You've lived. You grew up in the South, but in Northeast Louisiana. You lived in South Louisiana, and you've lived up north in the Detroit area. Um, it, can you give us the distinct differential situation of what life was like living in South Louisiana, in New Orleans, um, in Michigan, in the Detroit, Mount Clemens area, and what it was like for you as a little girl, little brown girl growing up in Monroe, Louisiana?
Growing up in Monroe, Louisiana, I don't know that I experienced a lot of stuff that some of my other friends experienced because living in between my grandparents and my mother, I had the experience of going to mixed schools. So I knew both black and white kids. I had black and white friends, but I've also went to predominantly black schools and I went to predominantly white schools. And I don't know if it was because I was taught how to insert myself in both worlds and be able to grow and flourish. Um, Going to the predominantly white school, I was co-editor of the newspaper staff, journalism. Um, I was on journalism staff. I got to do stuff that a lot of black kids may not have ever done. Going to the black schools, I played sports like all black kids. because that's what society says we're good at. So going to another state up north, Michigan, it wasn't hard for me to be integrated in. But again, I was in the military. So I was exposed to people that may have had a racist background, and that background was imposed upon me. But as Anise was saying earlier, when we teach better, then people are able to do better. Because I had already been exposed to both cultures, it's kind of hard for me to say I had a hard time fitting in or being able to handle whatever was thrown at me. I've always been a student of learning. So you can't just tell me anything either, because I'm going to know the rules and I'm going to be able to tell you what the rules say, which is something that I think a lot of us never learn is the rules. And so we engage
But
in situations and circumstances trying to fight battles that we're not equipped to fight.
And
Anise,
that's the behavior we need to model for others and support them in their movement anyway, move it forward, move it sideways, moving up, is know your rights, know your movement. And that's what I so love about the movements that are going on today for change. It's about knowing your rights. It's not just going out hollering, do something for me, change this, change that.
Mhm.
Everyone is equipped with knowing your rights, knowing what we're
Anise,
entitled to. Yes, sir.
the differences between growing up in suburbia Chicago, Illinois, and when you were your last duty station in North Carolina, what were the fundamental differences, and could you still see a stigma of racism in North Carolina when you left there 12 years ago?
Oh God. So first of all, I was good and grown by the time I got to
It doesn't matter.
suburbia, Chicago. How you
It
gonna ask
doesn't
me a
matter.
question? How you gonna ask me a question and tell me how to answer it? So
Because that's what I do. You just not knowing that? Duh.
excuse us, podcast audience. We are family, so that's how we do what we do. So um I'm from the west side of Chicago.
You from the
Represent.
hood? You from the hood? I didn't know you was a hood
Absolutely.
girl.
Absolutely. I am from the
Wow.
neighborhood.
No, you're
Put
Right.
some
from
re-
the hood
put
if you're from the
put
west
some
side
re-
of Chicago.
put some respect on my name. Now,
She got the K
um,
and the T in there.
no,
Wow.
it's the C and the T. Thank you very much. So anyway, um, my last duty station was in North Carolina, and could I see racism? Absolutely. My neighbor on the other side of my tree line had a, no exaggeration, probably a 24 foot, not inches, 24-foot tall Confederate flag flying in his front yard. Every vehicle had Confederate flags with weapons, rifles on the back of them. And this was right on the side, right on the other side of the tree line. And my children and I lived in the home, so that was very disconcerting with no lights on our on on the little road that we lived on. Um, I lived in the suburb there in North Carolina, outside of the gate at the end of my tour, and I lived in a military town, so it was very, very, very much so blatant racism, even though it was military town. Very blatant.
Wow.
Not only to my color, but also to the fact that I was a northerner, because it's very obvious. And so people don't think of that double whammy. There were things that I just was not accustomed to, a way of living and a way of life. And then being home, coming back, um, being a veteran has its own set of stigmas, believe it or not.
Hmm.
Um, there was no band playing for me. There were no bells and whistles and parades and all that type stuff. But home is home, and I love home. Um, where I live is an African American community, but if I go up the road, maybe a half a mile, it's an all white town either way. And it's very true. They look at you differently. There's aggression, and where I'm assertive, they're aggressive, and they make it very clear that you do not belong.
Wow.
No matter how green your cash is, and that's where we're getting to classism. It doesn't matter. You still are made to feel some kind of way, and you have to actually engage with an assertiveness, letting them know I have every right to be here as much as you do. To answer your question.
Question time. Mr. Wilson again, can classism be described as the haves and have-nots? If so, can it be totally independent from racism?
Yes.
I think so. And I think it can be described as the haves and the have-nots because we see in society today people that have a certain amount of wealth or intelligence or whatever it is you think that puts you above somebody else. They categorize themselves on a totally different level from especially money. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. So I don't want anybody to get it mistaken that because you have money, you're evil. It's the love of money. Um, there are some very wealthy people that do some generous things for people in positions that are not able to do it. But with classism, we decide that because I have this money, I'm better than you. Because you don't have any money, you need to stay over there in your place. We put
Can
things
you
in.
can you be broke and think you're better than someone else?
Oh, but
Absolutely.
of
There's
course, plenty of people do.
absolutely. If I have a roll of tissue more than you, I'm better than you.
Is that the
Um,
crabs? Is that
In the
but
bear
okay? Hold on,
mentality.
hold on, hold
absolutely,
on, hold on. Yeah, is that the crab in the barrel mentality? And if so, who put the damn crabs in the barrel?
the one that owns the barrel,
Right.
that owns the crabs, and they own the crab because of the mere fact that they own the restaurant that's about to sell the crabs. So when the question is asked, can classism be described as the haves and the have-nots? The sad fact is yes, and it's not that the have-nots. There are true have-nots that are impoverished that totally depend on governmental systems,
Mm-hmm.
and there are systems. There's systematic oppression that keep persons impoverished. And we all know that with our health care, with housing discrimination, with discrimination against persons that have been imprisoned, with a number of factors, education, with the quality of education that's offered in their neighborhoods, and on and on and on the list can go. Um, and then capitalism. Capitalism is what determines classism. And so then you begin to hold the carrots. And so the carrots then tell you what you should have and what you shouldn't have. So then if I say, hey, these $300 ones, are what you should have, then you get out and you stand in line for these $300 ones. And I'm not casting aspersions on anyone else, versus saying, hey, a $300 stock portfolio can grow into 300,000. That's long money versus short, where I can show you I'm of value. So then that makes me a have, because I have these versus the have nots. What was the second part of the question? I'm so sorry.
Chad's second part of his question. 1 second, I'll get it back on screen.
And can it be totally independent from racism? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Race has nothing to do with that. Racism has nothing to do with the have and the have nots. because the thing about capitalism is that it has no color. Money has no color. The only color it has is greed. And we live in a capitalistic society, and that is the reason why oppression has been there from the beginning. And enslavement was another thing that was colorless. Anyone that I can stand on to make work to get done what I need to get done to make me rich was what happened in this country.
Okay, you guys. The thing is about to come up again. Y'all ready? This next one is not meant to cause any ill feelings towards anyone. It's just a part of the discussion. Y'all know what my rule is. Choose love. So when I put this next caption on the screen, I don't want anybody crying and all that, trying to make it something that it's not. All right? Y'all ready? I hope this is the right one. Interracial marriage. Although sometimes counted among Jim Crow laws of the South, statutes such as anti-miscegenation laws were also passed by other states. Anti-miscegenation laws were not repealed by the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but were declared unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court. Oh, wait a minute, y'all. The U.S. Supreme Court, the Warren Court, in a unanimous ruling, Loving versus Virginia, 1967, Chief Justice Earl Warren wrote in the court opinion that the freedom to marry or not marry a person of another race resides with the individual and cannot be infringed by the state. That was a little bit, but it said a whole lot. How many people knew that was declared unconstitutional? Of people saying that one race can't marry another. They don't talk about that in the public.
That's a state law.
Yeah, but in my 50 years, I've never heard someone have a discussion about marriage and the lack thereof. Why?
The lack thereof in terms of interracial of what would be constitutional, what wouldn't be?
Well, from a standpoint of all I've ever heard was that don't do it. Well, you can't. The one thing that we can't do is we can't control matters of the heart. Matters of the heart always it comes out of nowhere and slap us in the face. You can't control who you fall in love with and who you love. You can only control how you love that person or that thing.
Okay, so what's your question?
I don't know if I asked a question yet, sis, but one's
keep
coming.
It moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
one's coming at some point. You know, I talk a lot, so yeah. In the process of the interracial dating, interracial marrying, interracial, what is it, cohabitation?
Okay.
When do you decide that now is it? Or do you live in fear and say, well, I don't want my kids exposed to the hurt, harm, and danger of what it's going to be like being in a mixed or blended family or being a child of multiple ethnicities.
So is it you that get to make that decision, or is it the
I
people
don't know
that are
who gets to make
involved
that
in
decision.
that? Because you said earlier, love is a matter of the heart, and we don't get to choose who
We
we
don't
fall
get to
in love
choose
with.
who we fall in
So
love with.
if my little brown child comes home with someone other than another little brown child, what am I presenting to him and her?
Ooh, ooh, man, always right on time. I did not know how to feel the first time my son, when he had a friendship, because he wasn't allowed to date at that time, but he had a friendship with a Hispanic young lady. She was a really nice young lady. Then I think the next ethnicity was, he was, by this time he's maybe in 10th grade, and he was dating a white girl.
So that sounds
I
like a you problem, not a him problem.
Right.
it's not, but watch this though. Watch this. We can say it's a you problem all day, but at the end of the day, it's still the principle of them having to live with the ridicule that comes with being a mixed couple.
But that's a choice that they make. And if
Right.
they make that choice, then they're choosing to deal with whatever society throws at them in that situation, especially when you grow up in a household and your parents teach you not to have racial tendencies or not to have classism. In my household, my kids, they used to say, "Ma, this is my friend." And the only way I could remember the kids was, "Oh, you mean the little Mexican kid? Or you mean the little Asian kid?" And they said, "Ma, you sound really racist." They knew
Right.
I wasn't racist, but the words that I chose to use made me sound racist.
Right. So it would be what you put in them, and you have to trust that what you put in them was from a place and from a space that would allow them to make sound, best decisions for their life, that would take into accountability to whomever they love. They would have the ability to rear their children in a way that love conquers hate,
Right. And in the end,
and
love
face
always wins.
whatever it
But,
is they have to face.
but,
But
They
what?
would
but,
face, even if it was brown and brown, they would still have to face some adversity. Even if they had a brown partner and a brown life partner, a brown husband, brown wife, they're still going to have to face something. There is no way they're going to go through this thing called life
And not have to
unscathed.
favor. Right.
you sure? You sure about that?
I'm positive.
Positive.
Just kidding. Just
It's just
kidding.
it's just
Just
gonna be
kidding.
another, a different set of something.
That's illogical to even think that you're gonna go through life without problems, y'all. I was just kidding, trying to bring
Well,
a little
you
humor
you
into the
got the
situation.
right to. You got the right
Right.
to, baby. Don't play with
so
us. We laugh
so
and joke, but we don't play.
no, this is real. This is a real conversation, and so with having real conversations, sometimes people will not look. What is it? Look through the look through the trees and see the forest. Can't see the
Yeah,
forest.
for
Oh
the
yeah,
trees.
that's it. They won't allow themselves to see the beautiful forest because of the
For the
trees that
trees.
block the view. You cannot you cannot let the trees distract you from, again, because we can't choose who our hearts fall in love with. You can't let the forest block your view. And it will. It will, because you got a friend that says that, oh, XYZ may be better for you. But what if XYZ doesn't make my heart feel the same way as C does? Then she can see, or he can see his way out of my life, or do I go with what society says I should be?
I mean, we can tear that. I mean, we can just take that whole thing and pull it apart in so many different layers. That goes according to occupation, education, the way physicality. I mean, we can go, and that goes for both genders or non-genders or binary or classification. So we're not going there tonight because we're on a whole different topic. I'm trying to keep
Right.
you on topic tonight because
I'm stay on topic, me. I may give open-ended questions now because I want you to have the freedom to make your comment without restricting your words.
what you
But
think about that, Miss Gibbs? I think
she better not
brother
say
Grace.
one word.
I think
Don't
brother
One
open
Grayson.
word.
don't
I
One
open
think
word.
I
don't
think
open
brother
your
Grayson be
enemies.
all over the place.
Ah.
Brother Grayson be all
Let
over
me
the
tell you,
place.
I'm gonna say this, and this is one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible. In 1 Corinthians 13, it says, "Love
Love
never
it
fails."
fails. That's
But
right.
where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. And now these three remain: faith,
Love,
Love,
hope,
hope,
and
and
love.
and
care.
love.
But the greatest of these is
These
love.
is
Love.
love.
And so it also says that
Yeah.
love covers a
A
All
multitude
multitude of
of
multiple
sins.
sins.
things.
And so
Yeah.
no matter
Yeah.
what we do, what we say, we can't really get around this love thing, whether it's physical,
Oh,
whether it's emotional, whether it's circumstantial. We can't. We can tap dance around it. We can try to dive, duck and dodge it, but we can't really get around it. And so if I choose love in whatever form or fashion it is for April, I can't be concerned with what everybody else outside of that thinks or feels. I got to do what's best for me.
See, and the thing about it is, and I was sharing this with someone is if the people in your life love you unconditionally,
Conditionally.
then whatever it is you choose, they will accept it unconditionally. And if they don't rock with you like that, then they're
Don't you
not
rock
meant
with
for
them.
you.
Right.
Because see, when you think about it, the people that God has placed in your life are very few. Because you're supposed to seek ye the kingdom. What?
Of
First.
God and all his
First.
righteousness.
And
Mhm.
in his righteousness and all things well. But you have to keep your eyes on the prize. You have to seek him first. He'll let you know what everything else is supposed to be. So those people that love you unconditionally will pour into you, will love on you regardless. Regardless. So it don't matter if they get one eye in the middle of their head and purple
that would
dot,
make
pink
that would
dot.
make that would make them a cyclops. Don't do that.
But guess what? I'm gonna roll with my cyclops.
Right. And I may not like what you're doing, but because I love you,
I'm gonna
we
love
gonna
you.
roll till the wheels fall off. And
I'm
Did
just
I
gonna
ever
ask you.
we don't have
I'm
to
gonna
did,
ask
agree
you.
with
You
everything.
sure? I'm gonna say you
did I
good.
did I
You
ever
sure?
tell you thank you, sisters? I mean, my in the middle, my sister in the middle, my mother and same mother, same father,
Just
sister.
say April.
Biological. Right. Because you struggling with
no,
that.
I said what I said. I meant what I said. No, because I no. It's been 19 years now. 18 years. I think 18 years I've been sober. And she knows this. Now I'm over the place. But um, when I was a drinker, right? I stuck to the fact that I was gonna be a drinker. And she never quit praying for me that God help release me from that bondage. And that's a part of what unconditional love is, means.
And
Is it
does.
being? Being?
Does. Being and does.
Yeah, being. I think that's the word I was looking for. We can't we can't give unconditional love because being hurts. being hurts, being that person that has to say, I forgive you, hurts. Being that person that loves you through, for, and with all of your idiotic thoughts hurts. Yeah, it hurts. I see it, Anise. Anise, I see it. It's
I'm
scroll.
not I'm not I'm saying that I'm not saying anything. I'm thinking and
Right, and
reflecting.
it's scrolling across your forehead. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
saying
yeah, 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 yeah.
Hobart
The
is
bubble.
right, Hobart is right,
No,
Hobart is right.
it did not say that. April, you know what? He is so funny because I'm thinking about the times that I've forgiven and I've actually had to be with the people that I love unconditionally. And I know, and I've seen them really going off the rails. And I just had to be, because I could not judge them. I don't know if I was hurt because I was focusing my time on praying for them. So I wasn't hurt so much as I was just wanting this for them. And God kept reminding me that I can't want it more for, I can't want it more than they want it for
For
themselves.
themselves.
So I wasn't hurt as much as I had to trust the process.
Hmm.
So I think I was more, I had a little trepidation, but I trust God and believed in God. So for me, it was a process of letting go
Hmm.
and stop trying to be a fixer. So for, I'm just thinking about my own personal journey. I just wanted it for them so badly. So I was a hoping and a wishing. There were some things that happened that was disappointing, but I don't know that I was hurt, even when they were at their lowest of lows. And some are still struggling with some stuff. And 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 just because it's not necessarily a substance or something like that, um, doesn't mean that their behavior isn't an addiction,
Mm-hmm.
if that
Oh,
makes sense.
okay. It does. It does. Okay, you guys. Um, we didn't talk about sexism. We didn't talk about
How
hate
how
crime.
how interesting.
That was on purpose.
No, we're gonna have part two and finish the
I no no no
conversation
no no.
next
I
week.
think because it was a 2-on-1. What do you think,
Yeah.
April?
You definitely
Nah,
didn't want to dive into
nah,
that, huh?
no. I did what I didn't want to do was rush through the topic. I didn't want to rush through the topic.
We'll take that
Um,
today, Anise.
I don't
be,
know.
be, because again, when it's all said and done, we've rushed through so much shit in time now, and look where it's gotten us. You can't have a real conversation being hurried. And with that being said, I want to talk about sexism. I want to talk about hate crimes as well because it's some things that have burnt my booty raw on the hate crimes aspect of this topic. And as I'm sure it's some things that have happened that has rubbed y'all raw. What's it called? Chafed? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yes,
word. Y'all know it. Y'all. That's why I got y'all
you're
PhD.
very smart. You're
That's why I
very
got.
smart.
That's why I got y'all PhD and master degrees over here. I'm not that smart. I fake it a lot. Let me stop. I'm just playing, God. I'm gonna use all of what you gave me to do good. I promise, God. Don't take it away from me. I'm gonna use my gift. I'm scared of losing my gift. Um, but we're gonna come back. Not this Sunday. Next Sunday is next Sunday. Next Saturday is Christmas. Next Sunday is the day after Christmas. Um, I people just should enjoy their holidays without
New
thinking
Year's
about.
Eve and then same thing New Year's Eve the following week.
Well, I
Yeah,
can live better with New Year's coming in. People need some good shit to bring in the New Year.
some good shit.
Some good stuff.
I said what I said. People need some good shit sometimes. Um,
So we're going to
uh,
start the show off with something interesting. So we're going to hold them in suspense with the topic. We're going to
uh,
hold them in suspense. Hi, Cloaks,
High
Cloaksy.
no,
cloaks,
Cloakski.
high cloaks,
Cool, cool, cool character. Cool
right?
character. That's way
Hey,
cool.
I like it. Hey, we got a new guest, y'all. I love it. Yes.
Bring your friends along.
Bring your
We
friends
we
along.
we eating Hobart up. He can't
Tag,
handle it.
share, subscribe.
I hope that you were helped while you were in here. We try to use laughter and humor to talk about real situations, but believe me, we're dead serious. Um, this is what I want to do to close the show tonight. Anise, go first. Then April. You give final thoughts, your final thoughts first, Anise. April, you can go second. I know you're not big on final thoughts, April. So if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. And then I'll give my final thoughts. 2 minutes, please.
This is wait. I got some clarification. This is as it
Oh
relates.
Lord, this is the keep it on, stay on task,
No.
please.
I'm trying to find out. This is as it
Stay on
relates to what we've.
task, please.
This is as it relates to how we've discussed racism, classism only. Correct.
Yes,
I
yes,
just needed.
yes.
April, was this wrong for me to get clarification?
Nah. He just don't like to explain himself.
At
That's
all,
all.
ever.
He's gonna say
At
go, and I'm
all,
like,
ever.
oh my
Y'all
god.
know that's my word. Y'all know that's my word. Go. Just go.
So I just um I don't think there is a brief synopsis that one could give on this conversation we've had tonight, because it could go on and on and on and on, and we could never exhaust it completely, as I've said before in our previous podcast. And I enjoyed the conversation. I I wish we could actually be live and you could see us together having this conversation. Racism is with us. We are human.
We
Um,
should. I'm gonna say it when you
you're
finish.
interrupting. You're
Yes,
interrupting.
I interrupted. I'm
That's
gonna
an
give you
additional
20
15 seconds.
20
20,
extra
20?
seconds for the
Okay.
yeah.
I was taking 15, but that's fine.
Yeah.
We are privy to our own thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And even as we were speaking tonight, we flash back to our own experiences. Our experiences are real, they're lived, and they prompt. I mean, I flushed myself as I thought about so many that I've had from a little girl to now. Um, and then I think about classism. We're always reaching for a bar, and this proverbial bar oftentimes appears and reappears and disappears. And the question is, who sets the bar and what does it mean? And why does it mean anything? And who is that status important to? Except that we live holy and righteous according to God. Love. Love is what's important at the end of the day. So I encourage us all to be mindful, do an evaluation, and check where we are. And I'm trying not to pay attention to Hobart, pay attention to where we are in our own skin and what's important to us. Um, and remember that with God, all things are possible. Thank you.
So, just my little 2 cents. We've talked about a very serious topic, and it's very prevalent. Pre- can't say my word.
Relevant.
Relevant, prevalent, and relevant in today's society. And many of us don't know how to deal with the issues, and we deal the best way we think we know how, or what's best for us. If I say nothing else that pierces you today, trust love always. Love never fails. Part of my ministry is Healing Hands Ministry, healing of the mind, body, and soul. And until we reach those aspects within ourselves, we won't be able to go forth and do what we need to do, say what we need to do, act how we need to act, um, and to be able to express and show our love towards others. As always, Psalms 107:20 says, He sent His word and healed them of all their sicknesses and diseases. Racism, sexism, classism, they're diseases of what affects our mind. We got to begin to start the healing process. And I say, let it begin with me. Let it start from the inside out. Let the people that surround you begin to see the love that you display, the love you show. Love conquers all, it never fails.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Y'all know I'm a big well, everybody. Thank you, Kloski. Thank you, Nathan Stewart. Like the people that know me know I'm a big softy at heart. No matter what you see here, I never smile because I always smile in my heart. I believe that's more important. Knowing that my heart is happy, knowing that my heart is not 100% pure, because there are some things in life and about life that anger me. But for the most part, every day, and I always say this, and people think I'm crazy because I say it so much now, but I always choose love, because as April just read, out of all the things in the world, love is the greatest. And so when you choose love every single day, you get closer to God, because God is love. And if we were created in His image and likeness, and if the goal is to become more, say it with me, Christ. Hold on, I
Christ
got to
like.
let y'all see my exclamation points. How do I
No,
get
they
it?
were off
Uh,
screen. They were off screen. You got to bring them
yeah.
closer to your face.
Okay. My if we want to be, oh, here we go. Christ like, you have to choose love. I don't. I I I only know choose love because, um when I think about my childhood, I had two people in my life, in my everyday life, that I was so close to, and that's all they showed me was love every single day. And that's the lady in the middle, who's been my best friend since I came on earth, and my mother. Um, I told someone today that I don't think that I've been loved in the last 28 years, because um I keep looking for the same love that I share with my mother and my sister. And in my mind, I know that will never be. But the 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 challenge is in looking. And when you look for something, you're sure to find it. Now, does that put a time limit on it? No. Don't look for hatred. Love is much more easier, much more freer. And as my sister, my big sissy, Anise said, just because you got one more roll of toilet paper than me, that don't mean yours is better, because yours may not be Charmin soft. Yours may be, that old, dry, decrepit tissue, that, when sometimes tissue not that good, it leave little pieces of paper.
Yeah.
All right, all right. Thank you for the visual.
Hey, can I finish? Do I get an extra 20 seconds?
No,
Um,
you have
no,
negative 20 seconds. Negative 20 seconds.
I, I, I can't be anything but openly expressive about how I feel. And so when we teach hate, when we teach little kids, when we teach little kids evil thoughts, evil intent, then there's only one thing that can happen, and that's failure. And that's a no-no in my book, because we said that love is better. Why teach your kids love and hate in the same breath? How much more confusing is it to tell your children that you love them, but to hate the next person, being, or thing? And it doesn't, ethnicity has no place in not teaching about love, be it Asian, Hispanic, whatever the ethnicity is, black, white, blue, red, or green, always choose love. Um, we got a couple of questions that thanks tragic Hen XC says good message. Another one says love all over. Anise, I'm gonna give you this question. Do you believe you can fall in love in high school?
I believe your heart has the capacity to fall in love. Yes. I believe that some of your decisions may not be the best decisions that you
Because
make,
of that.
because I believe that you have not experienced enough to know what would be best for you. Physiologically, your brain hasn't closed, so you haven't grown enough to be mature in that right. But I definitely think the heart has the capacity to love. I think that in high school, you may want to have some wise counsel to bounce some ideals off before you make some decisions to do some things. But absolutely love. Don't waste a moment.
You have a thought and or opinion on that, April?
Boy, I got a whole lot of opinions.
No, keep it to yourself now. Keep it to
Yeah,
yourself. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Cry over no one.
right. Because we are filled with the
Inside.
capability to love others. I think, yes, you can love even at an early age. Now, as Anise just expounded so beautifully, you need to have some wise counsel when you making these life decisions regarding how your future is going to go, spending a lifetime with a person. You need to ensure that the goals are the same. And so sometimes as young adults, we ain't even thinking about tomorrow. We thinking about right now. And so with the right people in your corner, can y'all grow to get to the place where you need to be at to um, allow that love to blossom and reach its full maturity? Of course. That's why it's important to have solid mentors in your life in every area, not just the things that society has deemed important.
Um, I'm gonna leave you guys with what my grandfather told us about love as a child, and then we're gonna sign off. You love them damn chili beans and rice. Don't you be worried about no other kind of love. Roosevelt Gibson, we love you. Thank you guys. Remember, get off the bench, get into the game. Oh, I
Did
always
you
go the
guys
wrong
do
way.
hearts? Did y'all do hearts last week?
No, we didn't. I'm sorry. Hey, we love you guys. Thank
Love
you
you
Love
too.
guys.
you. Have a blessed
Please,
holiday. Merry
yeah,
Christmas. Merry
Merry Christmas,
Christmas.
everyone. Merry
Merry
Christmas, everyone.
Christmas.
Remember, next Sunday we will not be here, but the following Sunday we're back like we never left. Man, I'm gonna miss you guys.
Deuces. Come on, Hobart. Come on, Hobart.
That one deuces. Hold up. That one right there. Chunk them deuces.
Chuck them deuces.
Yeah. Get off the
Yay.
bench. Get into
Into
the
the
In the
game.
game.
game.